Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Mike here. I'm going to talk to you today about Kickstarter and how that affects the future of game development and going forward, I guess, for PC and console gaming. Double Fine came out with their video for their second Kickstarter game called Massive Chalice. The concept is, I guess, you're this guy who he's able to do a certain amount of things before he either dies or retires to build a family, and then your offspring then goes and fights and they become more powerful, I think. If you've ever played a game like Infinity Blade on the iPhone or iOS in general, you play the game to a certain point, I guess if you die or whatever, then your offspring, pretty much has all of your abilities, so they're already strong enough from where you left off, and then they are able to go further and further and further and progress. It sounds like this game is going to be, obviously it's going to be on PC, but it sounds like the way that Brad Muir described it, that it could actually potentially be a tablet game, a phone game, along that nature. And I hope that they raise enough of their funds, because their first game, Broken Age, which was Double Fine Adventure, raised $3 million on Kickstarter, and it hasn't even come out yet, and they already put out another Kickstarter. I don't have a problem with that. I actually like the idea. Developers can go to the people and say, hey, if you're interested in what we can potentially make, and these publishers aren't going to give us the money to do it, if you want to see it get made, then you basically can put up money to support the development of these games. I don't know when Double Fine Adventure's coming out. I think it's called Broken Age now. We don't even know if it's good. What if it's not good? I mean, I don't think it'll be bad, but what if it is? I mean, what does that say about the potential of Kickstarter? Because the way that they don't really show anything in progress, Double Fine at least. They show concepts. They talk about what the game will be, and you have to make a decision off of that. And I hope that the money that you did put in, whether it was, I don't know how much Broken Age is, I think it's like, what is it, $20, $30 or something? I hope that you get your money's worth, and I hope that it is a great game, because then it's like, wow, Double Fine got all this money and they're able to make this awesome game for the people, by the people. And that's going to separate a lot of little studios that might not be able to get funding another way, and they can turn to the people to get the funding. When their game launches, they'll be able to sell beyond what they initially got kickstarted. That's the ultimate goal. There was a Road Rash remake or reimagining by this group of ex-developers from different studios that just finished their Kickstarter. I think it was a couple weeks or a month ago, called Road Redemption. And basically the whole thing was they already had some of the game finished, so they were able to show the game in the video that they had on Kickstarter. And what it was basically a Road Rash for the modern era of games. And it has online, and you can form biker gangs or something. And I think it looked pretty cool, I loved Road Rash when I first played it on Sega Genesis when I was like 5 or 10 years old. And man, that game was awesome. It was the only motorcycle racing combat game that I think that ever came out. It was pretty cool. Kickstarter in general is needed, especially today, because I hate to go back to Microsoft, but if they're not going to let indie developers self-publish on Xbox One this time, they're going to lose a lot of great games potentially. And these indie developers are going to go to Kickstarter. They're going to go to the PC They might even go to Wii U, because Wii U at least allows self-publishing of games. You don't need a big publisher to say, no, I don't think that's going to be mass appeal or whatever. You know, you can make the game that you want. If it sells, great. If it doesn't, then that really sucks. Even on PS4, indies are a huge bullet point when it comes to that system. And Sony made it very clear, because they're getting the exclusive for a certain amount of time from the new game, The Witness, from Jonathan Blow, which is, if you don't know who he is, he created the game Braid. And if you haven't played Braid, I think it's on like every system right now except for the Nintendo systems. Just find a way to get it. It'll probably be on Steam sale or something. Get it, play it. It's an awesome game. In order to have the diversity, you need to be able to support the new ways that these studios are going to be funding games. You can't just have all the big publishers determine what games get put on a console. You know, because then you won't get games like, what was the game that just came out? The Swapper, which it looks awesome and it's on sale on Steam. It just got released. You know, games like that were made by two Finnish guys who probably would have not gotten the okay from like a big publisher like Activision or EA. They'd be like, well, this game isn't a shooter or whatever, and we're not going to put this on the comp. We're not going to put this out. It's not going to make any money. It's getting awesome reviews. Hopefully, they make enough money to either make a sequel or make another game. Maybe it won't be the Swapper 2. Maybe it'll be a different puzzle game. But the idea of Kickstarter and crowdfunding, it's basically a better idea of pre-ordering, because not only do you put the money in to develop, for them to develop the game, you get the game when it's released. And usually when they release it, if it's not on a console, if it's on PC, it's either on Steam or they do a DRM free copy. And I think that is just awesome. And there's some people that on message boards and stuff say that, you know, I hope that Double Fine and some of these bigger developers who still make games should have the money to do what they want, have to rely on Kickstarter for every game if they're going to be able to make money through their other projects. For Double Fine at least, if Broken Age does well, maybe I think they'll keep the Kickstarter for Massive Chalice. But if Broken Age does well, and then they should really wait until Massive Chalice comes out to see what exactly their goals will be or their finances will be in the future. Maybe they don't use Kickstarter. Maybe they kickstart a little bit, but they give you more. Maybe they ask you for less and you get an awesome game in return, you know? So that's just my opinion on Kickstarter, and I think that if we get awesome, unique games out of kickstarting and crowdfunding in general, then I think that should be the norm. That should be the way that we vote with our money to make sure that awesome games get made.